Yeah.
Welcome back to Sports Covery, guys. I'm Rishi, and I've got with me Adi today. And we are entering a new phase in Indian cricket. Whether be it Test, whether be it ODI, whether be it T20, we are entering a new era where big names have left big shoes to fill. And today we're going to focus particularly on the Test vacancies that have been filled and what legacies have been left and what are the expectations for us because short while ago, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma had retired. I mean, announced their retirements, which led to a lot of speculations about who the next captain, vice captain, what the new leadership setup is going to look like. And we have had a decision by the BCCI, which came out a while ago. So the newly appointed Test captain is Shubman Gill. He is to be assisted by Rishabh Pant, who is set to be the vice captain. Now, both of them relatively, I would say, new to the red ball captaincy setup because I don't Punjab. I think Gill has captained, and I don't know about Rishabh Pant how much of a red ball captaincy experience he has, but they've had their own share of white ball IPL captaincies, and Shubman Gill assisted, of course, Prithvi Shaw in the under 19 Cricket World Cup and has occasionally, both of them have occasionally captained India in one off series. But of course, big changes, entirely big shoes to fill. So we'll dive straight into it. Adi, what were your first thoughts when the names were announced? Who did you expect? Who did you think were going to be the captains? And what were your reactions when you first heard the names?
Yeah, bro. I think I think it was pretty evident. I think we all knew it was not even now. I think from a long time it's coming, where the Indian leadership, they view Gill as your next gen captain, and it was pretty obvious for me. Even though personally he was never the ideal candidate, or if I was there, maybe I would have looked at it in a different direction. But I think last year when Hardik Pandya, there were reports about when Hardik Pandya left Gujarat last year, the reason Gill became a captain for the Gujarat franchise was a matter of fact to like, okay, we are going to have some changes in the near future. There were a lot of doubts about Rohit's captaincy, and if I'm not wrong, there was a report by Al Dravid where India played England last year. He gave a report saying, okay, if we have to groom a new captain, I think for him, he thought Gill was the best candidate out of all the players right now, and that was one of the reasons he also got the captaincy for Gujarat. And I feel like it's been a long time coming. I think even last year he got to captain India in the T20 format against Zimbabwe, where they went and played away. It was a very young
Zimbabwe,
score.
yes.
So I think it was always meant to be in terms of they already planned this from a long time. It's been almost a year since they took that step. So I didn't see it as a surprise. I think we'll have to discuss if that is the right decision, or is this the right way to go forward in terms of captaincy. I think for me, basically, it's a bold call coming from what I've seen. Getting captaincy in Test cricket is totally different from getting captaincy in T20s or like even ODIs.
Yep.
I think once you're a Test captain, generally from what I've seen, you need to be one of the mainstay players there. Look at any team. I think their captain leads by example, not only on the pitch but even with performances. With India also, I think you've had guys like Rohit Sharma, Virat, even Dhoni. Like we can sit here and say, okay, Rohit Sharma's not had the greatest career, but he still has great stats. You look at his stats overall. I think it is good in terms of in India. His test numbers are pretty solid. You look at it outside India, it's very weak, and we had that concern with Rohit Sharma. I think that transition has come back to Gill. I think that's what I look at it, because the whole conversation of
Hmm.
Rohit Sharma is, can we carry him on away tours just because he's the captain, right? He went to England, he went to South Africa, he also went to Australia. You saw his performances there. I think the conversation was, okay, Rohit Sharma is a good test player in India, we all can agree, but can he do it outside India? Can we take the risk of wasting the spot outside India just for the sake of him being the captain? And you can put that fact even for Gill. Like in India, I think as a test player, he's a great player. I wouldn't put it against him. Like I still think you can have a test player in India. He's a young guy. He can play. He's played very well in India. But outside India, I think no matter what I say, his stats prove it. He's not had the greatest career in Australia. Also, apart from that 190, he's not had the best series. Look at even South Africa, it's poor. West Indies, it's been poor. Look at it even in a place like England, it's been abysmal. Even though it was only 3 games, it wasn't at its top. So I think, yeah, bro, for me it's a bit of a bold call, but I think you can't do anything about it when once your main players are gone. You really don't have any leaders in the dressing room. As a board, what else can you do? You have to turn towards a younger guy because that's the only option you have. You look at India now, they've lost guys like Virat, which we'll have to talk about that because there were a lot of reports in terms of Virat Kohli also. So, yeah, in terms of right decision or not, I wouldn't. We'll have to discuss that. But in terms of who are the other options, I think you really don't have much options there in the Indian dressing room to say this guy deserves over him, for me at least.
So I'll tell you how I felt, because going into the BGT also there were a lot of conversations about Rohit Sharma's captaincy, and even before, for a while, we have like the questions have been lingering, like right after the New Zealand tour of India, and in and around that time, and the obvious name that we were hearing was of Jasprit Bumrah. And even when Rohit Sharma dropped himself and missed out the first game, Jasprit Bumrah was the obvious candidate. Even in the past, he has been a stand-in captain for us, and it was never in doubt whether we had to look at another name, because Shubman Gill, when Rohit Sharma didn't play, it was fairly obvious that Shubman Gill is going to play. And when at that point, nobody even pointed a finger at Shubman Gill, like he was never even part of the conversation. So that was like what I felt was the natural progress, how things are going to go. Like it is going to go from Rohit Sharma to Jasprit Bumrah, who is going to be our red ball captain for as long as Bumrah plays, and then by then we will have a stable batter who has established himself in the Indian cricket team, right? Because in the red ball setup, because as of now I can't point at one batter, maybe Yashasvi Jaiswal, but take out Yashasvi Jaiswal, I can't look at one batter and say that a youngster I'm talking about, because I feel over the recent performances, I would say KL Rahul is also going to get the long rope. I've been a critic of him in the past, but I like, of course, he might stick around for a bit while, for a little longer. But other than that, I right now couldn't see an young Indian batter who has established himself in the test setup. And Shubman Gill has been somebody who was always considered as expendable. Like, you have another batsman in form, okay, we can just make Shubman Gill sit out. And somebody who hasn't cemented his position in the batting setup or the Indian setup, all of a sudden has become the undroppable captain. For me, that came as somewhat of a shock, because like I said, Jasprit Bumrah has always been there. He has been. I mean, why go to him if Shubman Gill was the obvious contender to be the next captain? Why go to Jasprit Bumrah? Now you can say that okay, you want to manage his workload, manage Bumrah's injury crisis and everything, but we have been seriously under the pump when it comes to test cricket for the last few years. For I would say at least from 2019 2020, we have been under the pump. Now we have had very good domestic performances, we have gone to Australia and we've won, but when it comes to converting it finally in that WTC final, we've always uh, somewhat failed to get the job done. So when that is the occasion, I don't think you should be looking at a player who probably is the best. I mean, for me, he is definitely India's best player right now. You can't be looking at him and saying, "Do like we want you to play only 3 out of 5 tests." No, you have to be. If you really consider Test cricket as your most important format, you need your best player to play in all the formats. Maybe here and there, a domestic series, a couple of games you can sit out, but
But
we're
who's
straight
your
up going to England. We're playing
but
five Test series,
who's your
and
best
our
player
coach is
in?
already. Sorry.
Who is your best player in the Indian Test team right now? Like, if you're talking about your best player,
Yeah, I'm talking about Bumrah. I'm talking about
yeah.
Bumrah.
The point is he himself can't play it, right? Like, for example, coming into the series, I think even Ajit Agakar, and there are reports that said that even he has to manage himself, and even in this series, he can only give around 3 games out of the 5 games in the England tour. So the fact is, if the management knows we're not going to get Bumrah throughout the season, they know that okay, he's not a certain as a player. Like you can't take the risk of making Bumrah the captain, and then suddenly if he's not there, you have more instability there because you're like okay, Bumrah's going to come as a captain. He's only going to play 3 games out of 5 games in this Test series. Now for the other 2 games, we have to suddenly find a new captain, and then again it's going to be Bumrah. I think you can't do that, right? Like you really can't sit there and give him the captaincy when you're not even sure about him playing, for example.
When it came, like, I remember when the Australia, the whole sandpaper thing and everything was happening, like up until the point where Pat Cummins was the captain, they had no problem in rotating their big three. They had no problem bringing in other bowlers who will take off the workload off of Cummins. But then the minute Cummins became the captain, he, without second thoughts, he would leave out every other bilateral series. He would opt out of every other ODI series that wasn't of that much of a relevance as compared to he dedicated himself primarily for the test match format, for the test cricket format. And
But he became the captain after the Indian series, for example. That was in 2022. It,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
been
yeah,
only,
I'm saying
I think even before that, like with Cummins, you don't have the issue of like fitness. That's the point. Like
no, no,
he is playing it.
there were a lot of times when they were sitting him out, or they were rather resting him for like as they would with any of the other two bowl
But
like
but
Hazelwood or Stark, they would have
but the
no
point
problem
is,
rotating him. But look at
but
him
the,
now; he's
but the point is
playing
with
every single
Cummins.
test.
But with Cummins, you can't do that in terms of, I mean, you could do that with Cummins and Australia because they had their quality and depth. With India, you can't do that anyways because, firstly, you don't have the full certain quality in the players. Like India, you look at throughout their history, they've only had like 3 proper seamers. The fourth seamer will always be like a guy who doesn't really play Test cricket. Look at it throughout. And secondly, like the problem with Bumrah is he himself is saying I can't do it. It's not a matter of the management saying you can't do it. Bumrah himself said this fighter series game I can give myself for 3 games maximum. I can't push myself over that. It is not a matter of the BCCI saying okay you're only going to play 3 games. Like he himself made it clear, right? So for me the problem is, see, I don't know how Bumrah is a captain. I don't think, for me personally, okay, he's the best leaders. He's out there to do that. For me, if I have to look at Bumrah as a captain, I think with Indian captaincy, I've already told before, it's more than just captaincy. It is huge pressure. I think Bumrah's already going through his own injury stuff. He needs to keep himself fit and mentally stable for Test cricket. That itself is too much for a fast bowler. On top of that, being the captain of the Indian cricket team, at this point of time, there is too much pressure. Like I think if Bumrah is the best player, and he's a guy who needs to thrive on like look at Cummins, bro. He's not the main Australian bowler when you look at it. Like Stark is the number one. I would say Hazelwood is number two. Cummins. I mean, I would say they're all equal to an extent, but you can say that Stark and Hazelwood can be your number one, number two if they want. But with India, you can't be like okay, Bumrah can't be the number three bowler
I
with
don't
India.
agree, Doc. I feel Cummins is I like for me it's hard to choose. If I needed
Oh,
consistency,
Rishi,
I
but
would take Hazelwood and Cummins. If I needed somebody to come in and make a quick impact, then that would be Stark. But if I wanted consistency, if I wanted discipline, it would always be Cummins and Hazelwood.
See, but the point
Like,
is, that's what I'm saying. The point is, you can have on days where Stark is the number one, you can have days where Hazelwood is the number one, you can have days where Cummins is the number one. Even though you look at the way they play, it's generally your main two openers are Hazelwood, Stark, and then Cummins comes in. That's generally how they do. The point is, Cummins can take himself out and still have two other great bowlers. Australia can rely on those two bowlers. Like Australia can solely rely on Hazelwood and Stark if it needs to it. They can get in Boland if they really need it. Like if Cummins is not playing. You look at India, they never had that luxury. With in Test cricket also, it's always okay, if Bumrah is not there, who else is there to ball? Siraj has never been that guy overall technically. Right now, Shami's not available to play Test cricket also. I don't know if he'll ever come back right now in terms of Test
Mm.
cricket. And who's the third person? Like, you don't have really any other baller there to say, okay, he's going to come and replace this guy. You can talk like, okay, Prashant Krishna, we don't know what he can give. Ashit Rana, he's not been selected for this tour. But again, he is an unknown. You can't rely on him. Who the other options? Mukesh Kumar, he's not even in the Test squad now. Then your Akashdeep, I still think you can't call him your main bowler. Like, you can't do anything else for India. It's not right now. It's been for a while, but especially now, you can't really call for Bumrah to be both your main bowler and your main captain. For me, I don't think it makes sense anyways. Like, let's say even if he was available, I would use Bumrah solely for this bowling. I think that makes sense because you've seen how much it takes toll on him when he's bowling in test matches, bro. Like, that itself is
Mm.
so much for him. Like, he even in the Australia series, he couldn't last by the end of it. Like, he was done. His last two test matches, he couldn't play it properly. Now imagine him doing that and captaining. I just think it's a waste of resources. And anyways, I think Bumrah is also fine with it. I don't think he really wants to take the responsibility of captaincy because he himself says, I can't make it to every test series if I know. Because he needs to protect
Mm.
himself also. So like what I think that's a problem. Like I feel like if Bumrah was set there and said, I'm gonna play every game no matter what, then maybe yeah, BCCI would have bro, I think at least if not captain, they would have made him a vice captain for sure. Like if minimum. But he himself has said, like, no, I'm not going to be here for all the time. I need to look at every test series by itself. Like, I can't give you guarantees. So I think when that comes, you can't do much as a selection committee, especially. But I think we can talk
Fair
more about
enough.
Virat as a captain if you want to put that because I think yeah, there were reports like Virat wanted to become the captain after the Australian series. Like even the last Test match, he was the one who was captaining. It was not Gill. Gill was on the same pitch. Pant was on the same pitch when Bumrah pulled out, but it was Virat who was doing everything there, right? I think maybe that could
True.
have influenced him wanting to be like, okay, I want to come back as a captain for the team. I still think he has it. I think even looking at this IPL season, from what I've seen as an RCB fan, yeah, he doesn't take full throttle of captaincy, but I think he's still a good leader, and it would have been the best time to come back and guide such a young squad. Like, I think that's what helped this year for RCB also. Like, he had players around him who wanted to help him when it wanted to do it for him. That mentality was there. I feel like it was a bit of like how Argentina do it for Messi. I think I could see that with RCB and Virat, like the kind of urge, devotion they've wanted to do it for Virat.
Mm.
I think if Virat was a captain for the test team, I think a lot of that factors would come into the test team. Not just as a captain, but more like, okay, you make him the captain for the next 2 years, 3 years. Let's see how this World Test Championship cycle goes. I think there are a lot of young players now. You don't even have any. Your senior is like Pant and KL, which is not much compared to the other teams. And yeah, for me, I would have ideally gone for Virat, and I think it's pretty credible now. If I have to look at it in the sense of the reason Virat retired is because he wasn't given the captaincy, right? I can't
Captaincy.
even
Yep.
imagine.
Yep.
I can't even
And
imagine.
I think Ravi Shastri also came out and said, no, if like maybe that was how BCCI dealt with it wrongly. They should have right after the BGT. They should have just gone and given the captaincy to Virat Kohli. And questions were being asked. To be fair, questions were being asked about both Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. But considering Rohit Sharma's retirement and looking at your other potential candidates, I don't think a lot of people would have had issues with giving the captaincy back to Virat Kohli, especially when we are going for a 5 match series to England. Like, we don't have, like, this squad is looking, I don't remember probably since 2013 or 2014 since an India squad looking this young and inexperienced. Like I don't know if primarily where runs are going to come from is a different question altogether. But for me, primarily looking, like you mentioned, like looking at the leadership, looking at that on-field presence, I don't see characters. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from guys like Gill and Pant, but it's just that if somebody like Virat Kohli was there, of course, it's one thing that the players look up to him. Like that is out of the question. You see your leader running and diving. You see him giving his 100%. That without saying your the remaining 10 players are going to give that little 10, 20, 30%, and that would have made a huge difference going into an away series like the England series. So like you said, I not a lot of questions would have been asked if we had gone and straight away given the captaincy back to Kohli. But that ship has also sailed because he too announced his retirement. Off he goes into the sunset, and
But I
that
think he retired because he didn't get the captaincy. It was for
the
match.
captaincy.
Bro,
I know. Like
imagine
yeah,
Virat going into a test team where you have guys like Gill and Pant as the captain. I don't think you've seen any test team in the history of cricket. Like at least let's say post 2000s. You tell me one cricket team, especially Indian cricket team, even if not the Indian cricket team, like any other cricket team where like you have the youngster being a captain over senior players. You can say MS Dhoni, but if you put in context to MS Dhoni, they had other captains who were there and they didn't want to be the captain, and that's why Dhoni became the
MS
captain.
Dhoni. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
like towards the okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
True,
when
true, true.
they still had Dravid, Sachin playing for the team, right? But Dhoni
Hmm.
became the captain is because it was a matter of Sachin never wanted to be the captain. Even Dravid never wanted to be the captain. So they had to. It was like they were forced to find a new guy. And Dhoni had the credentials of winning a World Cup. Also, it's not just something where he just came to it without doing much before, right? Like he had the credentials. They
Right.
were like, let's transition this into full time for all three formats. Like that was the point of it. Like we look at Virat. When Virat came in, he had credentials as a captain first, let's say under 19, also with the IPL, he captained RCB. Then he became the captain of Indian team. But also on top of that, it was a matter of Dhoni didn't want to be the captain, and that's why Virat got it. It was not like, okay, we have Dhoni and Virat right now. Let's just take Dhoni out and give it to Virat. It was more like, okay, he's not there. Like Dhoni
True,
retired. We need to find a new captain. But in this scenario, when Rohit Sharma
true.
retired, again, we don't know if it's Rohit Sharma who retired or it's because he didn't get selected, he retired, right? Okay, fine,
Hmm.
that happens. Next opportunity is okay, now we have to find a new captain. You out of the everyone who toured in the Australian series, who's the only senior players you have? It is Bumrah, it is Virat Kohli. To an extent, you can say it's KL Rahul and Punt, let's say. So you have to go and find a captain from these four people. Now you look at it, KL has done it before. I don't think he has it in him to be the captain. He rejected even the captaincy of Delhi Capitals, for example. Punt, he's
Hmm.
never really been a captain forever. Like whatever you can say, he's not been the real captain until he a bit of small stint in Delhi Capitals, a small stint in LSG, but never was a captain. The only other two options were Bumrah and Virat. And I think the real opportunity lost for India is they should have just made Virat captain, Bumrah vice captain. Do this 3 years of series with you guys. We'll see what happens. At the same time, you can groom guys like Gill, Punt, whoever you want, Jaiswal, Sai Sudarshan. There are a lot of players. You can groom them for the next 2-3 years because, bro, in 2 years, Gill is only going to be 27, 28. Like, that's very young for your career. You still have around 5, 6, 7 good years to give for Test cricket. You can still Rohit Sharma became the captain of India at what 31, 30, what not even 31, like 35, if I'm not wrong, 34, 35. So you have a lot of time to give yourself, like you can still learn. I think India's best opportunity was give the captaincy to Virat, make Bumrah your second man. Even if Bumrah is not there, then you can okay, if Bumrah is going to come for 3 games out of 5 games in this series. That's when you can have Gill as an understudy for Virat, or let's say someone else for Virat, learning under him, understanding the conditions. And then over that, you could have built something. I think it would have been good because, bro, whatever happens, I know Virat's performance haven't been the greatest in Test, but now you have a nothing in your batting lineup, and you also have a nothing in your dressing room. Like it's a huge risk for me at least. So for me, when I look at it, it's a huge risk to put in Gill as the captain, but it is not
True.
only a risk based on him being young. Like it's a risk based on look at his previous stints as a captain. He's been 2 years captains in Gujarat. It's not like it's something new for him this year. Like he's been a captain before, and I think, bro, even this year when I looked at him with his body language, I struggle to see him being a captain. Right? Like I struggle to see it. Like for right now, captaining a test squad for your first time when you've not had the greatest records outside India, I think I don't know, bro. For me, it's a bit like, where does it come from? Is it based on what sense? Is it based on your good couple of years in ODIs why you're becoming the captain? I think you can put a case for Virat being the captain, but BCCI rejecting that, and that's where for me the issue comes. Like, I would say if there was no Virat Kohli, there was no Bumrah, or there was
Mm.
no any of your senior players, I think then I would be able to be okay with the fact that okay, BCCI has no choice now because Virat is not there. Let's say Bumrah. Okay, Bumrah again, he's not going to
True.
give his 100% for test. Now, what do you have to do? You have no other option. It's okay to take the risk of Gill. Like, it is out of choice. I have no other option. But this year, I think they did have the option, and I think they should have just gone not only the safer option, but I think it was the right option to give. Would have been the right option if they gave it to Virat.
To give it to Virat.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, that's true. That's true. And our new captain, of course, at home, like you rightly mentioned, has a good average, but when it comes to traveling away, it is a huge concern. And now that has just been compounded by the fact that he is going into the series, stepping into big shoes as a captain as well. So if it goes well for him, I think that launchpad can be absolutely brilliant. There's no coming back from it if he has a brilliant series. But if things go wrong, serious questions are going to be asked to him, to the management, to the selectors, and it is going to be a trail by fire. It's not a trial by fire. It's not going to be easy at all because England has been traditionally one of the toughest places for Indian batters to go, and now we are going into the series with uh, Bumrah playing just 3 tests. We have Mohammad Siraj, who has been in and out of the Indian team for a while now. Prasidh Krishna, a relative newbie to an absolute newbie to the test setup. Who are the remaining? We have Akashdeep, Arshdeep. That's it. So this is and Shardul Thakur, who can offer something with the ball. This is what our bowling lineup is also looking like. So yeah, yeah, big questions that are going to be asked if things go wrong. And with that being said, I feel the timing of them announcing Rishabh Pant also has about like as the vice captain has come at an interesting time because we know for a fact he has been under the pump for a while now. The runs have not been coming. His his style of batting has been under serious scrutiny, and off late his captaincy for his respective IPL teams have not turned out great as well. So on what basis have you been offered or have you given the vice captaincy to him? Because right before this, we were talking about Rishabh Pant as somebody who doesn't necessarily has to be in the test team. Okay, like somebody who's down the order who comes and uh, gives us those quick fire innings. Fair enough, but we were also having serious discussions about his wicket keeping skills, about how somebody else could come in, somebody like a Dhruv Jurel could come in and do just, if not good, a better job than Rishabh Pant when it comes to wicket keeping. And all of a sudden, you're looking at these two guys who are not going to be dropped anymore. You're not dropping your captain and vice captain anymore. So serious questions are going to be asked towards him also because the minute Shubman Gill has to rest or has been dropped, you are in the firing line. So how do you feel about Rishabh Pant being the captain, considering how his seasons as captains have gone by over the years?
Bro, yeah. See, with even both with Gill and Rishabh, like you don't have any benchmark or any previous results or anything in terms of test cricket as a captain to be like, okay, he's done it before, he can do it, right? So what can we do? We can only go back to the only real uh, benchmark right now is your IPL. So that's the only place you can go and say, okay, these guys have both captained their respective franchise in the IPL. Let Have they done it there? Can they translate that to test, right? I look at Gill. Last year they came second last, if I'm not wrong, Gujarat, right? Or even last, I can't.
Mhm.
They came second last, if I'm not wrong. And it was
They
a
came
matter
second.
of yeah, they came second last, and it was a matter of they had a weaker squad compared to what it was. It was his first time as a captain. Okay, cool. This year, do I think he improved as a captain from last year? I think he was a bit more confident in his role. I think he was a bit more naturally outspoken. Like he could speak more. He was more present on the field from what I observed this year. Because last year I remember there was a lot of Ashish Nehra coming and putting his inputs. Even this year it's
Hmm.
been a lot of Ashish Nehra coming and putting his inputs. But I could see him being more vocal. I could see him going and confronting the umpires and things like that, which he wouldn't do. Now, if is it the right thing or not, it's a different thing. But I think he was a bit more vocal. But do I see those intangibles of a great captain in him? I don't. Like, unfortunately, I don't. Like, intangibles in the sense of, can he stay calm under pressure? Can he pump up his team when they're under pressure? Can he try to do something unique or something different? Find a solution on the field, because at the end of the day, you have to play captain your team on your own uh, gut feeling, like your own way of you looking at the game. Do I think he has the knowledge? I personally don't think so. At least right now. Even in this games, bro, there were a lot of games where Gujarat could have won. They had to defend scores like 200, 220. It was not about defending. It was more of like he was not able to find a solution to it, and he was not able to adapt to the game. And I think that goes the same with Rishabh Pant. Like if I have to pull up the stats, if I let me just say in IPL, both of them have a winning percentage of 53 percentage, like 53 basically. Uh, you look at the context of it. Both players have a pretty young squad to an extent while they're captained it, but you still have to see it from the field. Like what I've observed on the field, even with Punt in a T20 game, which is very quick paced. Okay, so it's not even like you have to be thinking like in Test cricket, you have to think for every 5 overs, 10 overs, and you have to think for an entire day if you really have to
It is
be
meticulous
planning
planning.
for it.
It is like
Exactly.
to the
And
minute detail planning. Yep.
yeah, you can get so exhausted, bro, as a captain. You might not even realize what to do at what times, because you're so confused, because it's so long. Like every player is so different. But in T20, you can, bro, everyone plays a similar way. You can literally predict what everyone's going to do. Like you ball a certain way, the batsmen are under pressure to score runs. But that's not how it is in test matches. My point is, I've seen both of them this year in the IPL. I really don't think they're the they're the deepest of thinkers, and they're not very intuitive and agile on the field as a captain. Like even with Punt, I think we discussed this. Overall, it's been a failure as a captain in terms of doing something different, bro, finding solutions, etc. And even as a captain, his batting performance has dipped a lot. Like this season, his batting performance, apart from that one innings against RCB, he didn't have a good season. He was averaging around what 18, 19, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
And with Gill, he had a great year of batting, but bro, I don't see both of them as the greatest captains. And overall, you have to look at the team. For me, to be fair, at the end of the day, I don't think there were any other better opportunities to put Virat as a captain. I can say it stresses enough. But if you
Hmm.
take out Bumrah and Virat out of this team and look at this team, right now as what it is, do you think there are any other leaders where you would be like, okay, I know there's no Virat, I know there's no Bumrah as a captain, for the captaincy. Now, who are my rest? With the squad I have right now, who is the next best captain? Like, can you even blame the BCCI to say, okay, you should have gone in a different way? Like for me, I honestly feel for BCC. I mean, for the Indian cricket team, in the sense of like they had no other choice. Like they really don't have anyone else. Like if you come today, for you, do you see
What
anyone
about
else?
what about a KL Rahul? Because I wouldn't like have had a problem if they were to name him at this point a captain or a vice captain.
On but
Some over
if
somebody
I,
like
if
Shubman
I
Gill or
ask,
Rishabh Pant.
okay, if I ask you on basis of what exactly do you want to give him, what are your real this thing? Like he's been there for a long time. He's been the captain for India before. He didn't really have
Mhm.
a successful stint, I would say. But yeah, like what would the arguments be to like, okay, what is
Like
the
in his so in his defense, for whatever reasons it might be, like the fact that he has been made to play in different positions, the fact that he has been in and out of the team, but the runs haven't come at a steady state. And from a captaincy point of view, he hasn't, of course, been given a lengthy stint to make anything off of it. Like you get maybe one series a year or one series in 2 years. What exactly can you derive from it? Like what can you exactly derive from Shubman Gill's captaincy in that Zimbabwe series. That literally says nothing. Like, so I don't want to be too harsh on him in the sense that okay, he has been captain, so has he been? I'm not going to sit and say he has been a very big hit, because you could see that he has had, for XYZ reasons, he's had issues when it comes to captaincy of the IPL team of late, and apparently he didn't want to captain Delhi side either. So maybe that if maybe BCCI would have approached him and he turned it down, but if it were given to him, I would say he has the merit for now, because he's ultimately the most senior batter in the setup now, or he's been somebody who has stuck around for the longest. Maybe Ravindra Jadeja also, like Jaddu and KL Rahul has been the people who have been with the setup, so they know how the team works, they know how the tours work, they know the pitch conditions as well as anybody else. I don't think anybody has gone to England, and I'm not saying he has performed well. I'm not sitting and saying he is undroppable. But for somebody to be a vice captain or a captain, I feel he had the minerals. And you're not looking at the next 10 years, the next 7, 8 years. I'm again saying, like you rightfully mentioned, about what would happen if Virat Kohli were to become the captain, where you stabilize the ship, or you just take the captaincy for the next couple of years till your youngsters are established, because they don't have, because then at least the youngsters wouldn't have had the added pressure of captaincy on top of their run scoring issues. So now they are battling two fronts. So if one of these two seniors, if the opportunity were given to one of these two seniors, maybe that would have just given the edge, maybe another 2 years, or I don't want to say three, because again, if it were Virat, his age and of course fitness, there is no doubts. His batting has been under the the lack of runs have been under the pump. So yeah, at least another 2 years would have been given to these batters to get some runs under the belt, and to at least shed that pressure off of their backs. That's why I feel somebody like KL maybe would have, again, not done, of course, very different character from Virat, not, you would say, one of the most quiet people, but somebody who would have the respect of the dressing room, somebody who can guide the youngsters. So maybe if they would have looked at KL also, I don't think I would have had any issues. I don't think a lot of people would have had issues, because like I
But
said, you're not looking at the short term. Huh.
but do you think? See, again, I have my own opinions about Kerala as a test player.
Hmm.
But let's take out, his test career as a batter and just talk purely based on his leadership qualities, right? Do you think he's shown enough to, merit uh, that tag, or that basically the status of a captain? Because he's captain the Indian team, he's captain the Indian team in Test cricket also, and you look at the previous years of IPL captaincy at least, and you look at this year in terms of where he outright rejected the opportunity of becoming a captain. Do you really think he wants that, tag or that responsibility of a captain? When, to be honest, you look at his career in Test cricket, like his Test career hasn't been stable. Like it hasn't. There are his own question marks of him being, a player who can be in the Test team for a long time. There's sometimes a spot question of, okay, where is his position? Maybe that
No,
was
I think,
due to,
Adi, I think with the departure of Virat and
yeah,
Rohit, that his position and his
yeah.
batting position and his place in the lineup has been sealed. I don't see him being dropped, at least for the next 1 2 years.
I think I can agree to that, because right now is when he can have a bit of stability. But that's
Yeah.
my point. For him, it's like, okay, this is my time to like put myself into the cricket team, put
Hmm.
myself in Test cricket where, okay, I'm going to be the outright opener, let's say, for the next 3 years. First of all, I don't think as a leader he has it in him to be the captain of the Indian team. Secondly, when you look at it personally, I don't think he himself would again want to take it, because it's like, okay, this is my only opportunity to be, the Test opener and get my stats right. Because, bro, we've been, however critical we've been of Gill about, his Test career and his stats, it's miles ahead of like KL Rahul overall in the past 5 years, if you want to put it. Yes, you can open it, Rishi. Like even last year, Gill outscored KL Rahul, for example. KL Rahul
Hmm.
had an average of 18 in 2022. He had an average of 22 or 23 in 2023. 2024, he had an average of 34 or 35. So it's not like KL Rahul's been very good to be like, okay, he is the guy. He's always been the guy in test. Let's put him there. Like,
Mm.
this is KL Rahul's time to put himself in the test cricket. Like, honestly speaking, like, no matter how good he looks as a test player, your numbers matter, right? Like, that's the
True,
point.
true, true.
And I still think even in India, I struggle a lot in Test cricket in terms of like there have been better batters outside India. I would say it's still been a bit okay. Like I wouldn't say it's been the greatest. So I don't think the captaincy in him is there to be like okay, he needs to be the captain. And even if it comes down to captaincy, I think for him it's better to concentrate on his batting right now and put himself as a pure batter, right? So I again, that's the thing. It comes down to it, bro. Like I don't look at anyone here and say, yeah, these guys are captain material. Like for me, again, if there's no one else and you're only looking at it as a pure captain, I think I would always go to Shreyas Iyer the way he's performed. But even with Shreyas Iyer, he's not even the test team. So how can you even tell him, okay, this guy needs to come? I don't think it's fair to say, okay, come back to the Indian test team because you're a captain. Because
Right.
unfortunately, there are better batsmen who's been performing in test cricket. Like Karun Nair, for example, has played well in test cricket. Would you want him in the squad? I would rather have him in the squad. Let's see how it give him an opportunity, sure. But I don't think you can just put him as a test captain right now and say, okay, you become the captain. Even though I would have liked that to happen, I don't think it makes sense. So unfortunately, bro, like at least with Gill, I get the idea. Okay, Gill, I feel like for them it's like he is that equal. I wouldn't say he is Virat Kohli. That's not what I'm saying. But India as a whole, let's say BCCI as a whole, they unfortunately even we at a point of time looked at Gill as the next Virat, the guy who's coming to replace Virat. That's how it was. At least to an extent, it still is, right? And he
Mm.
has a talent. I wouldn't lie and say he doesn't have the batting talent. Like he does have it. But I think that's where India, the BCCI came from and said, okay, let's put him as a captain. And I'm okay with the fact. I'm like, okay, let's see. But with Rishabh Pant, I think they could have gone for a better choice. I think this is where they could have still given it to Bumrah, saying,
Who
Bumrah,
would you have
you
had? So Bumrah would have been your first choice vice captain.
yes, because the fact is, bro, the point is okay. Like right now, Bumrah is not able to give his best in terms of Test cricket. You don't know in, as you said, and don't know in 2 years, maybe he feels better and he's like, I'm able to give like my 100% to Test cricket. You don't know, bro. Like maybe he's going to completely retire from T20, saying I've done I've won the T20 World Cup. I don't have to play T20s, right? He why is he's playing T20, for example? You have so many T20 bowlers. You can literally say, I don't want to play T20. In the next 2 years, you don't know. He might be like, I only want to concentrate on test. And that time he might be able to give more time to test, whereas workload is better. So if you had Bumrah as a vice captain right now, it's easy to transition him to a captain if it's needed. I'm not saying it has to happen. But my point is, like, let's say Gill doesn't work in 2 years, for example. Then who do you look up to? I would rather look at to that time, me personally, I would rather look at Bumrah in 2 years and say, you don't have the headache of T20 cricket. I think that should happen.
Mm.
This is a proper young squad. You're the main player. Let's say, as a bowler, you are the main bowler. Let's say, obviously, you might have different people in batsmen, but you are the most senior most player here. You're the oldest. People are going to look up to you. You've had 2 years in this dressing room as a vice captain. We can easily make you the captain and move on. And I think he has better credentials over Punt as a vice captain. Like me personally, you could have made him as a vice captain. Like that's the point. I think that would have helped more. But yeah, bro, I think for me more than Gill, I think I would be more harsh on the vice captaincy given to Punt
Vice
because
captain.
I really don't see any leadership qualities in him. Unfortunately, I agree, but even though I'm very harsh on him in terms of a batter in all
Hmm.
formats, and let's say even in Test cricket, like look at his stats, I can't go against it. Like me personally, I would, if it was today right now, I would still try to integrate Dhruv Jurel as the main wicket keeping batsman for India. But I
Hmm.
can't make a case saying you have to drop Punt. Like I can't do anything about it. His numbers speak. Even after injury, he's been pretty solid as a batsman, playing there. So I would, for me, it's like I don't want to talk about him as a batter, but as a leader, I've never seen it. I can't see it till today also. He had one season in IPL. I'm not even talking about results. I'm not telling, okay, you have to be winning every game. That's when you're a good captain. But me personally, I didn't see any captain leadership qualities in him
Leadership qualities.
in this IPL, these 2 months. You had the opportunity. I seriously don't think he even took it that seriously. For me personally, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how you look at it. You can say how you look at Pant as a leader, but I think it should have gone to Bumrah in my opinion.
No, I completely agree because I neither did I find any striking reason as to, like, why have you been, like, why has he been made the captain, or sorry, has been made the vice captain. But it ultimately, it is what it is. Like, okay, now we have two youngsters who are going to lead one of the most populous nations in the world, the biggest cricket playing nation in the world, and has a lot of pressure. I don't think any other cricketing side faces as much pressure as the Indian cricket team faces. Now we are, and their test, their skills are going to be put to test at the hands of the Englishmen. I don't think it can get any more challenging than that, because it is as hard as it gets. The lateral movement is off the charts. There, it's the type of conditions where the English bowlers, they don't even have to be world class. They can be decent bowlers. You hit the right length, the ball will do the rest. You're going to find yourselves in all sorts of trouble. So it is a new dawn for India red ball setup. What do we expect from them? So of course, for me at least, I would be too harsh, or it would make no sense if I were to say, yeah, I expect a complete dominance and a victory in this England series. Or, but I would say at least, okay, clearly the setup, clearly the management has seen something in Pant and in Gill. So I would want them to showcase as to, okay, why have you been selected? Prove your merit, not necessarily through winning of series, but at least through performances, at least through responses from your team, as to at least have a blueprint of what the direction is that you want to go into. Because when Virat came into the team, we knew the situation was bad. Like, we were getting hammered by Australia. He came straight up, play like made performances, made bold performances with the bat. Let his bat do the talking first, and of course, he gave it to Mitchell Johnson, left, right, center. Be any captain, they have left huge marks on the team. And I'm not saying necessarily we have to, like I said, we have to have stamping victories in England. But of course, I want to see something. I want to see some desire from the team, how you get the team going, how you make the team better. Because right now, it's a very moldable team. You have a very young team. It is up to you guys how you're going to shape the team. And not many captains get that opportunity, because a lot many times a younger captain comes in, there are 4, 5, 6, 7 experienced players with a few guys who are of your age. But not this. I don't like in this particular lineup. I would say Jadeja is experienced, Bumrah is experienced, and KL Rahul's experienced. The rest of the team is in and around your age, your late 20, like your late 20s, early 20s. So this is a very moldable team who you can design and who you can drive into whichever direction you want. So that is primarily what I would want to see from these guys. What is it, Adi? What do you feel should be expected off of these two and the test side going into the new avenue, going into this new chapter?
Bro, I don't want to be too harsh, but see, in terms of the captaincy level, it's not about results. Let's say in England, I could say I would only say I would give him or the Indian team, the coach, everyone the leeway in England. Okay, it's simple. I'm not gonna say you have to. It's okay to lose. Like, let's say it's okay to lose final, or it's okay to lose 4-0, and we can't give the excuse of, okay, we have a new captain, it's fine. Because me personally, you look at this Indian team, you still have a lot of players who are the best in the world. I'm sorry to say, we've lost. Like, okay, we've lost Virat Kohli. You look at the entire batting setup. I still think they have one of the best youngsters in the world compared to any other team around the world. They lack the experience, I agree, but just the matter of fact of, okay, they have Chaiswal, who was an explosive player. KL Rahul, his own merits, he's a pretty solid player. Like, I can't take it out. Sai Sudarshan, another exciting guy. Gill, we've known what Gill is as a player overall. He's been one of the best youngsters in the world for a while. You have guys like Pant, again, one of the best like test players based on number. The way he plays his role, one of the best out there. You have Karun Nair now, who is very well experienced in England. I think I don't want to judge them through England as a tour, but you need to show that fact of okay, we're here to win. We're here to like want to win, and like let's see how it goes. You might lose final, but everything can be fine margins. That's fine, and that's my point. As a leader, I would like to see you in the game, not trying to give up. Within 2 days, 3 days, just stay till the fifth day. Like even if you lose, it's fine. Like show the character as a captain. Show the that you have that will as a captain to be there for the 5 days continuously. I think that matters more from a captaincy perspective. But if we really want to start judging, I think we have two more test matches, West Indies and South Africa. Like, I think these are the places for now where you really understand, okay, what is this Indian team and what can Gill, Punt, and even Gambhir, to be fair, show themselves or prove themselves as whatever, as a captain, and what value they can give for this Indian test team. Because if you okay, India's always lost away from home, even with the best team they had, they've not been able to win away. So it's not fair to expect them to win today. Like it's just not at all fair. But if you're coming to India, you're struggling against teams like West Indies. You're struggling against teams like South Africa. Like you shouldn't be struggling against these guys, no matter what you are. Like with West Indies, you're supposed to win that game with ease. Like for example, that test series. With South Africa, you're supposed to win that test series. If it's gonna come to a situation of okay, it's a nil or a 1-all, you know, I think that's where your questions start rising. Like, is this the right, right decision? Are these the right guys to lead? I think it's time. We'll have to see. But one thing I want to be sure about is I don't think India is in a rebuild phase. Like, okay, you have suddenly lost a lot of players. You've lost only one main player, which is Virat Kohli. If you really look at it, like because I still don't think I think India's upgraded in their opening pair suddenly because of KL Rahul. I always felt KL Rahul maybe opener or number three is his best position. I think they
Mm-hmm.
upgraded there. Even as a number three, I think Sai Sudarshan can be an upgrade on Gill as a number three. Like if it comes down to that, you know what I mean? I think their only
Yep.
biggest loss right now is Virat Kohli, and that's a huge loss. Maybe not because of numbers, I can agree to it to an extent, but it's more of the aura, the belief
The
he gives to
presence.
the team. Like, yeah, exactly. The presence, you lost it. And this is where Gill has to step up as a presence. Can he show that I'm here for you guys? Like I'm here to fight. Like I don't know, bro. Like I just have to. We have to see it. But yeah, I think performances wise, bro, it matters if when we start talking about India versus West Indies, when India versus South Africa at home. If you're struggling to win there, then I think there should be serious conversations.
Hmm. Right, right. That's true. That's true. And we'll wrap it up at that. We have two young leaders for our test setup, the biggest format of world cricket, and a lot of pressure is going to be there. And hopefully, the crowd, the fans, give them a good amount of support, a good amount of fair criticism, and the long rope because they are young. They are going to be tested a lot, but yeah, at the end of the day, they are our chosen leaders. Back them, and let's see how things go. That's it. We will be back shortly. We'll be back soon. Thank you for catching us, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.